In this tutorial, we will have a look how we can create dialogue. So if I just click on this play button, we're gonna see dialogue as you can see. And if I just click on this next button, we can see I run a YouTube channel. And if I just click on this arrow, as you can see, an awesome to make videos. So we're gonna have a look on this. So without furthering delay, let's get into it. As you can see, I have created a dialog panel and this dialog text and a next button. I'm gonna give a link in the description of a video. You can go and check that out, that how you can just make that with menu, something like that. I'm gonna give in the description. Okay, so let's get into that. To do so, firstly, what we will do, we will go to project tab, then assets, and create a script folder over here by just right clicking, then create folder and name that folder to something like scripts. So I already have created a script folder right over here, so I'm gonna go right there and let's create a something like dialog manager script, and that script just gonna handle when to speak, and basically that will be manager of our script basically for our dialogue. So that's why, so go to that script, right click, then create C# script and name it to something like dialog manager. I already have created right over here, I have. So go over to hierarchy and you can attach that script to any game object of your hierarchy. So I already have created a separate game object dialog manager, and I just drag it or attach that script to this game object. As you can see, basically select that script and drag it to add component section. So I already have done it, so I'm going to double click that to open it up in Visual Studio. So as you can see, and now we're going to create a separate script for our dialogues. To do so, let's go to script, Unity, go over to project tab one more time, then script folder, right click, create C# script and name it to something like dialog. I already have created right over here, so I'm gonna open that up by double clicking, and this script right over here just gonna handle what sentences to speak. I'm gonna remove this start and update function we don't need, and also this mono behavior and colon, because this script not gonna sit on an object. Instead this this script just gonna contain the name of the game object we talking with, and also the sentences to speak. So I'm gonna give sentences instead of the name. You can just expand upon it, it's totally up to you. So I'm gonna give the name, the sentences to speak. So let's make public, that will be string, and we're gonna make an array. Why? So make this a square brackets, because we're gonna have multiple sentences to speak. So that's why we just made an array which gonna handle multiple, it can be names, it can be numbers, anything like that. So that's why we just made an array, and we have to name the array, or this we can call it something like sentence, and close that up with semicolon, control S to save your code. But we're not gonna able to see this object, so before we just do that, let's just save your code and let's go over to dialog manager script, and make sure you just attach this script to any game object of your hierarchy. So we're gonna go to top of our class, and we're gonna make right over here public dialog. So basically we just gonna see that script, so dialog we can call, and that script just gonna contain what sentences to speak. As you can see, we made a sentence array right over here. So let's go to dialog manager script, and make sure you just press down Ctrl S to save your code and go over to Unity. So we should able to see in dialog manager script, underneath dialog manager script, a dialog script just gonna pop up, and dialog script just containing an array, basically sentence array, and we can put as much as sentence we can speak. So if I select this dialog manager script, game object, as you can see in underneath our dialog manager script, we cannot able to see those sentence array, because we need to make that dialog script serializable. To do so, let's open up the dialog script, so double clicking on that, and to able to see this sentence array, we need to go to top of our class right over here and make this square brackets, and to see we have to use this system dot serializable. And now if I just save our code and go back to Unity and select this dialog manager script, now we're gonna able to see those basically that array sentence array just gonna pop up right away underneath dialog manager script, because in dialog manager script we just made a dialog script field. So that's why. So if I now select this dialog manager script, as you can see sentences array just get pop up and it says empty, and we can just keep how much sentence we want to speak. So we can just hit this plus icon as many sentences we speak. So I'm gonna say something like 3, but the problem is that the field seems pretty small and we hardly gonna fit into it. So that's why we're gonna go to that dialog script, and over here before we make the array we're gonna just assign a area. To make this, make sure the make this square brackets and type over there text area, and make this first bracket, and you can put a minimum lines and the maximum line you want to just make that area. So I'm gonna put minimum 3 and the maximum I'm gonna put 10. And now Control S to save our code and go back to Unity. We should able to see this field just gonna expand right away, which will be the minimum will be something like 3 and the maximum will be 10. So just have a look, and nice text just field appear just gonna right away, as you can see indeed. So I'm gonna say something like, hi, I am Fire Up Roy, I run a YouTube channel and awesome to make videos, and awesome to something like to make videos, something like that. So we have 3 lines, as you can see I just made 3 lines. So if I just open up the dialog manager script, what we have to do, we're gonna use a kiwi. একটু sound টা কম। So what we're gonna do, we're gonna put all of this line of code, not code, basically this sentences into a kiwi. So we can make a string array, but it's prefer to use a kiwi. We're gonna put all of these sentences into that kiwi, and then after that we're gonna extract one by one these sentences. To do so, let's open up our dialog manager script one more time, and to make a kiwi we're gonna go to top of our class, and it doesn't need to be public, so we can just make this private, and that will be kiwi. Kiwi, and the kiwi type, make this arrows, and the kiwi type will be string, and we have to name the kiwi. So let's so before you use kiwi, make sure you using system.collection.generating namespace in your script. If it's not, include that. So the type of that string, and we have to name the kiwi, so we can say something like sentence and close that up with some semicolon. Now we have to define this kiwi, so we're gonna go over to this start function, and we do know that start function get called when the game start. So in the start of the game we're gonna define this kiwi. To define it, sentence equal to new kiwi, and the kiwi type is string, and make this first bracket and close that off with some semicolon. So now we defined this kiwi in the start of the game. As you can see, sentence we can call something like sentences instead of sentence, so let's call it sentences kiwi, and we're setting equal to new string kiwi. And now this kiwi is totally empty, and we are ready to just put all of this line or these sentences into that kiwi. To do so, we're gonna use for each. So let's go to bottom in the start of the start function, and we're gonna use this for each. Let's tap twice, and that will be string. We're gonna put string, and we can say something like sentence, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna go over to dialog, in dialog dot sentence. So basically we just moving over to this dialog script and accessing all of this sentence right over here, as you can see. So if we move to dialog manager, so string in sentence and dialog dot sentence, basically how many sentence we have 3 sentence. So this for each loop just gonna run each time until and unless we put all of the sentence, basically all of this sentence into that kiwi, or you can say into that container or bucket. So to just put into that kiwi, we have to type this sentence. So sentence dot sorry sentences dot enqueue, we have to enqueue that, which is a sentence we're gonna enqueue. So basically, as a first, this sentence gonna be this first line, I am Vairab Roy, and the second time this sentence right over here gonna be I run a YouTube channel, and the third time this sentence gonna be this a awesome and awesome to make videos. So we just took all of this sentence and we just put it one by one. Basically we just enqueuing into that kiwi, this sentences kiwi, as you can see, for each. So that's why we use this for each. So dialog dot sentence basically means how many sentence we have right over here. I hope you get the idea. Now we put all of the sentence into that kiwi, and now we are ready to extract one by one. To do so, I'm gonna use a function for that, and we're gonna make this public because we want to call this function through a button. So that's why. And for function we have to type void, and we can call this function something like load. Sorry, not this. The function will be load load next sentence, load next sentence, and this not gonna take any argument. Basically make this first bracket and this some curly brackets. So what we want to do in this function, in this function, basically we want to extract this first line from that kiwi. Basically we want to dequeue this the first line. To do so, what we're gonna do, we're gonna use this sentences dot dequeue. Basically we just extracting and make this first bracket. Now we extracted, let's suppose, the first line, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna put this first line, or what we just dequeue it into a another string, or you can say in another container. So that will be also a string, because this gonna be a string. Basically this line right over here or sentence is a string, so that's why. So we're gonna create a string, and we can call something like line, and let's set equal to this. So basically we just extracting the first line, you can say. So this sentences dot the this we gonna extract one by one. So that's why for the first time it's gonna the extract the first line, or we just dequeuing the first line, and the second time will be this one, and the third time will be this one. So we whatever we just dequeue it for, so for the first time we just gonna definitely gonna dequeue the first line, and we storing that line, basically hi I am Vairab into this line, and this line just gonna be hi I am Vairab. Basically we just putting that line into in this container, this line container, and now we ready to just see that. For now we just gonna print out a message in the console, basically the line we just extracted. So for printing out, we're gonna use this debug.log, and we want to extract that line. So line, and make sure close that up with some colon. So what we're doing, we just printing out the message, basically that line, into this basically console right over here. So I hope you get the idea. Firstly we just dequeuing that, and we storing into this line, and then we just printing out that line into console. As you can see, debug.log for we have to use to print out in the console. And make sure Control S to save your code. But we also need to call this function, but when we should, when we just click on this next button or this arrow, then we're gonna call this function. For now let's print out for the in the start of the game. So after doing all of these things, we're gonna print out the that line in the console. So we're gonna call the function in the start of the game in the bottom. So load next, and make first bracket and close that off semicolon. Control S to save code, and go back to Unity. So in the start of the game, this line or this sentence, hi I am Vairab, just gonna pop up right away. uh, so now if we just click on this play button in the top, we should able to see the message just gonna pop up right away, says hi, I am Vaira Proy, because we just dequeuing that, or you can say extracting from that kiwi. As you can see, indeed, hi, I am Vaira Proy. And now what we're gonna do, once we whenever we go to click on this arrow button, we just wanna load the next one, and we also need to show up, instead of showing up in the console, we're gonna show up in this text. So basically we need a reference of this text, and then we can link up this text into this with our these lines or these sentences. So let's get out of play mode. So if we go to canvas and then dialog text, basically this text, so we need a reference as well. So let's go to script now, and let's go to top of our class right over here. So let's make a public that will be text, and make sure before you using this text component, you include this namespace using unity engine.ui. Make sure you just include that and text, and we can call something like dialog text, and close that up with semicolon. And now what we're gonna do, so instead of printing out message in the console, we're gonna show it in that UI. So we will go to dialog text dot text and equal to this line, and make sure you just close that. So basically we showing that line will be hi, I am Fireploy. So basically we just going to dialog text. So if we go to unity, so we just moving over to this dialog text, then accessing this text, and we setting this text equal to that line, and that line we do know for the first time will be hi, I am Fireploy. So the text right over here gonna be hi, I am Fireploy, because we directly setting it. And we also want to call this function through a button as well. So before we do that, make sure Control S to save your code. And now let's go to Unity. So just wait for to compile. So in the start of the game, that just gonna show in the text. And of course we need to drag the reference this text right in dialog manager. So if we select this dialog manager's game object, as you can see that dialog text, it says none. So what we have to do, we need to drag this text right there. So let's select this text and select that and drag it right there. Now we have the reference or the link of this text. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna select this next button, basically this button, and go over to inspector, scroll down, and what we have to do, we need to we have to hit this plus icon. If I just subtract that, so basically this one will be empty. So what we have to do, we need to hit this plus icon, and we need to drag the game object in which game object the script is setting on. So in our case, this dialog manager, so we're going to select that and drag it right there, and it says no function, so just click on that. So we're going to move over to that dialog manager script or class, and over there we created this load next sentence function. So let's select that. So whenever we click on this button, that function just gonna call, and we do know what that function is doing. So if I select this dialog manager game object and click on this play button, we should able to see right away, I am Vira just gonna change with this text, and when we goes to click on this arrow, we're gonna able to see that this next line also gonna pop up. As you can see, hi, I am Veraproy, and if I just click on this next button, this line should be pop up in this text. So as you can see, indeed I run a YouTube channel, and then if I just click one more time, because we have left one sentence to speak, so let's click on that. As you can see, an awesome videos and awesome to make videos. Now if I just try to click on this arrow or this next button, now we're getting an error, and it says queue is empty. Basically we extracted all of this line from that kiwi, so that's why that kiwi or that bucket, you can say, becomes empty. So before it becomes so we need to check before we just show this text, we need to check if that kiwi or that bucket is empty or not. So let's get out of play mode, and also what we have to do, we need to make an animation, something like later we're just gonna add one by one, so it's gonna make our dialogue lot more cool. To do so, let's go to script. So before we just set equal to dialog text, and before we do all of these things, we're gonna check right over here. So we will check if we're gonna go over to that keyword which is sentences dot count, and we will check if it's equals to 0, and make this curly brackets. So basically we checking right over here, sentences dot count equals to 0 basically means if that keyword is empty. So what we have to do, we need to stop doing these things. We need to stop showing the fourth line because we don't have it. So that's why we're gonna type right over here return, and we do know after return whatever line of code you write, it will not be executed. And once the empty keyword became empty, I'm gonna say something like the conversation ends, something like that. So for that we're gonna type debug.log and says in quotation, let's say something like conversation or dialogue ends, dialogue dialogue ends, and make sure click exclamation mark and close that up with some semicolon. And what we want to just show a one by one, which makes which gonna make our dialect lot more clean. So that's why for that we're gonna use another function, and we will use a coroutine. To use coroutine we have to use this I enumerator. Before you use this function, normally what we do, for function we type void. For coroutine we have to type this enumerator, and we have to name the function. And before you use that, you go to top of your class, make sure you include this namespace in your class or script which says using system.collection, then you're gonna able to use that. So let's go right there, and we can say this function something like typing sorry, typing words, and make first bracket and some curly brackets. And what we want to do inside this function, so basically we're just gonna take all of this line of code, basically this, control X by cut, and let's paste it over here by control V. So firstly what we're dequeuing, basically extracting the first line, and then we're storing that line into this line container or line string, and then we're showing up right away into that text. But instead of showing that right away into that text, what we want for the firstly we want to empty our string. So that's why we will say dialog text dot text equal to a empty string, and make sure you just close that up with some semicolon. So basically we're just moving over to this dialog text, and we're setting equal to that empty, so this will be empty totally. And after that we're gonna use this for each function, sorry, for each one more time, tap twice on your keyboard, so it's gonna fill right away, and that will be char or character. And we can say something like later, and in basically that this line, basically line. So that's why we're gonna say basically line dot to car array, and make this first bracket. So basically what we're doing right over here, we're gonna go to each letter. As you can see car later in line dot car array, in line dot car array you can just say something like, if I just go to this dialog manager, something like this line, and we splitting up all of these words, this H I A M, all of this splitting one by one. So what we're gonna do, firstly we empty our string, and we're gonna go over to that dialog text one more time, dialog text dot text, and top of that we're gonna add plus equal. So we have to type plus, sorry, plus equal this later, and close that up with some semicolon. And after that, after adding one letter to our that dialog text, basically we just moving over to this dialog text, and we adding to this, which for the first time this will be, I guess, this H, then I. So we're gonna wait one frame, so that's why we're gonna use yield return null. It's basically means we just waiting one frame, and then going over to this for each one more time. So the next in this line gonna be this I guess this I. So the next this later gonna be I, and again it's gonna be I, then A, then M. So it's gonna add all the letter one frame. Basically we waiting one frame, as you can see yield return null, and then we just going over to this one more time and just adding that later to that text, as you can see by one. Basically firstly we splitting up all of this word singly. Basically we splitting up individually, and then we just waiting one frame, and then we just adding top of each other one by one by waiting one frame, as you can see. So we also need to call this function, and this function just gonna do these things, as you can see. Firstly we empty our string, and then we just doing this thing. So we're gonna call it in this load next function right over here in the bottom. So firstly we checking if the kiwi is empty or not. If it's empty, then we just doing this, and if it's not empty, then we're gonna call this typing word function, and this function just gonna print out this thing, firstly empty, then just gonna add up one by one. So let's call it, and to call it we're gonna use this start coroutine function. Start coroutine. So basically normally what we do, we just type the function name, which is typing words, and make first close that up with semicolon. So normally as we do, but for coroutine we need to fit this function into a start coroutine. Basically that weird, but just right after me and you're gonna get hang of it. So we have to put this function in start coroutine, sorry, start coroutine, and make this first bracket and put this whole function into that start coroutine. Now it's gonna call right away. So control S to save your code. So we just delaying, so that's why we use this I enumerator function to make our text a little more cool by delaying our frames. So that is the thing of using this to make cool. So control S to save your code. Now let's go to Unity and let's have a quick look. So control S to save your code, and now if we just click on this play button, you're gonna able to see that just gonna happen right away. Basically the text just gonna be way more cool. I hope you get the idea. And now if we just click on this next button, as you can see, indeed the animation just played. Basically the letter just get added up one by one. So if I click on this arrow, as you can see, it's get one, and if I just click one more time, the basically those letters just getting one by one, adding one by one after waiting one frame. And if I just try to click one more time, because we don't have any line, we just only have 3 sentences to speak, and we do not have now the QV is totally empty. So if I just goes to click on this arrow, as you can see dialog ends. Basically if we go to script, as you can see, if sentences dot count is equals to 0, basically means that QV is now totally empty. So what we're doing, we're just printing out the message in the console says dialog end, and after that we typing return, and we do know after return whatever we're doing, it's not gonna happen. Basically we just trying to get the fourth sentence, and we do know we don't have, so that's why it's not getting called, or else we're gonna get error. So that's why we type just return, and we do know after return whatever line of code you write or whatever thing you were doing, it's not gonna execute. I hope you get the idea that how you can just do that, and you can make the animation like just dragging down this panel, so it's gonna make a lot more cool. I'm gonna have a video in the description as well for this, how you can just do or make the animation to make it even cool. I hope you get the idea that how you can make dialogue in Unity, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And lastly, thanks for watching this video.